Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Aesthetic Edge, the podcast where we uncover real strategies, stories, and secrets from the most innovative minds in aesthetic medicine. I'm your host, Bethany Gifford, and today I am thrilled to welcome a guest who is a leader in the aesthetic space, Mark Koepsell, owner of Xanadu Med Spa in Fort Collins, Colorado. But first, a word from our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by New Era Intel. At New Era Intel, we help medical spas, dermatology clinics, and plastic surgery practices who are struggling with inconsistent patient retention, underutilized CRM systems, and manual systems that hold back your clinic's growth potential so they can finally increase quality repeat bookings, streamline operations with AI automation, and grow predictable monthly revenue with the right systems and strategy. They're able to create a premium, seamless patient experience while freeing up their team to focus on what they do best. If you would like to take your business to the next level, head over to neweraintel.com to get started.
Over the last decade, Mark has transformed Xanadu into one of Northern Colorado's most sophisticated destinations for medical aesthetics, blending luxury, wellness, and the results in a way that both elevated and accessible. From building an extraordinary team to launching a new longevity program centered around the idea of live better longer, Mark's vision is one worth learning from. Mark, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Before we dive in, I would love to hear what originally drew you to the world of aesthetics and how did you acquire Xanadu?
Okay. Well, I've got an interesting story because in my previous life, I was in higher education for a long time. And that led me into the world of nonprofit management. And I was the CEO of a company where we managed 18 different nonprofits, and I was on the road nonstop. So that last year, I actually did 220 grueling nights in a hotel room. It can sound sexy until you do it, right? That's lots of airports and everything else. So I was looking for something else. And through a mutual acquaintance, I knew the previous owner of Xanadu Med Spa, and she was selling Xanadu. And naively, for better or for worse, I thought, well, how hard can it be? That sounds great. And I would like to do that. And, admittedly, I didn't know a lot about the aesthetic space at that time. So this was 2015. And the learning curve was steep. And I went and got certified in med spa management through a program real quick and just really jumped into the deep end. It came from just me going, I think that sounds like a really interesting field. It sounds like something I can be passionate about. And the rest is history, as they say.
Awesome. How would you say your vision has changed since like those early days till now?
Oh, geez. How has it changed? It has evolved. I think it evolves every month, definitely every quarter and every year. So in the beginning, I had 3 staff people. And really what I bought was what I'm going to call a day spa that did Botox and laser hair removal. And so she called it a med spa. We even had a room for nails. Let me tell you, I got out of that quickly. The churn rate on nails is awful, and the client complaints never end. So got out of that quick. But my vision from the beginning was really, how do we become just the highest quality med spa, providing everything in the space that that people want and need. And so it's taken 10 years. And at this point in time, we've got the largest collection of aesthetic devices in Northern Colorado. I know we're in the top 5 for the whole state. And it really just came from a place of, how can we provide the best service that we can for our patients, right? And so as I went, I just acquired device after device and other equipment and chemical peels and, everything that goes with it. We now have 3 hydrofacial machines, right? You just keep building.
That's my favorite.
The I know everybody loves it. That's why
I
we
love
need
a good
3.
hydrofacial.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That's an amazing evolution from where you were thoughting of just doing something just because it sounded good, and now look at you. That is amazing. That's amazing. So, what is your role at the moment, and what does a typical day look like for you at Xanadu?
Yeah, well, my role on paper is being owner. I think my real role is being the manager, being um, the product and supply, ordering guru, managing the books, managing the staff, um, taking care of clients both when they're happy and when they're not, uh, being the brains behind the marketing, and all of that comes together. No day's the same as the day previous, and every day I think I know what I'm going to do that day. When I get to work, it changes. So um, I would say it's every hat that I can wear.
I was just about to say you literally have every single hat. So, my background as well, I did a little bit of everything. So I know how stressful and confusing that can be, but exciting. And like you said, it's never a dull moment because there's something new every day. So awesome.
There
So
is, and I've got a great team. I've got 24 people on the team now. And so I delegate where I can, but at the end of the day, it all still falls on my shoulders.
that's amazing. Do you have 24 people working every day in your office?
No, not every day. So it's, a team that rotates in and out. We're open, what? I think it's like a total of 60 hours a week. And so you have to have shifts and different people to cover different shifts.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Speaking of shifts, what big shifts in the industry are you seeing in the med spa industry and also the medicine industry?
Uh, Okay, the list is long. So I think the big ones, peptides clearly are new to the space. 2 years ago, I would have told you that Botox was my leader, and that's been taken over by GLP-1s. And right alongside that are other peptides, and that leads us into that whole longevity conversation and everything that those supply. I think another shift is there seems to be like an anti-filler movement out there currently. And so just trying to navigate that space. I still really think there's a great space for fillers, done right by the right person. They really can be amazing. But they've gotten a lot of bad press, and Instagram certainly helps fuel that. So, on the back end, though, is the rise of things like PDRN, and how can that kind of come in and either supplement or replace what fillers did. Um, Obviously, devices, shoot, the minute I buy a device, it seems like it's outdated and there's a new one that's cooler and better and does more, right? So
I've heard
that
that a
end of
lot.
the industry just never, yeah, it never changes. So just know the minute you buy something, it's going to be outdated. That's just the way it goes.
All the training, all the marketing,
Yeah.
and then they're like, "Oop, never mind, new thing."
Yep. Yep.
With all of
Exactly.
that said, the growth and the competition and the rising of, patient expectations, how has that impacted the way that you approach growth and strategy at Xanadu?
Um, I think growth really comes from a place of just wanting to do the best on behalf of the patient, right? And so, as we're talking about outcomes, we're talking about needs. Our growth many times just comes from identifying holes that we seem to have consistently, and then how do we backfill and how do we fill those holes to be able to provide better outcomes. Um, so I I try really hard not to look too much at what the competition's doing. I don't want that game of keeping up with the Joneses. I just want to do what we do and to do it with excellence, um, and to really care about what our clients' feedback is that they're giving us.
Absolutely. A very good indicator for sure. Could you get a little bit more specific on the holes that you guys are coming across? Little things that you're trying to plug up or improve?
Yeah, I think they come in the form of, um, so many times maybe the laser techs are working on something and there's a problem that they just can't solve, right? And so I'm not even going to be able to name something specific because at this point in time we've kind of filled in all the holes.
You're like, not
uh,
a problem
but it,
anymore.
but at one point in time, we didn't have RF microneedling. We had regular microneedling. RF microneedling was new in the space. And so, the minute you begin to identify and understand how much better the outcome can be once you add that RF component, then that was a hole. And then, we work to fill that hole. So I think that's just one example. There's probably 100.
That's great.
But that's how it
That's great.
happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, to jump on the other side of everything, let's talk about what is working. Um, what's feeling really aligned or successful in your business right now? And, have you had any challenges getting to that success?
Mm. Yeah, one of the things I'm really excited about is we are to that place now where we can really give a beautiful, non-invasive facelift. So you can go to your plastic surgeon and you can spend $100,000, or you can come to us and get pretty darn close, with the devices that we have and the procedures that we have. And after going through a series of different, maybe it's the Ativa layered with the soft wave, with the M face, with some microneedling, and the cherry on top is a little bit of filler. The outcome is pretty darn good. Um, and so those things are really exciting. And I don't think we even had, accessibility to those conversations even 5 years ago.
Yes.
So it's amazing how technology just provides these new opportunities, um, where you don't have to go spend $100,000 and go hide in Mexico for 2 weeks.
Downtime in Mexico.
Yeah.
I know a lot of our
Well, maybe you
listeners
want to do that,
are,
but
laughing at that, but it's not funny. It's real. It's
it's
a
true.
real thing. It's a real thing. Well, switching over to a little bit the business side for our, med spa owners and listeners that are wanting to kind of grow their business. What performance metrics are you mainly focused on and improving these days? Is it patient retention, treatment conversion, or is there something else that you guys would consider success?
Yeah, I think it's all of the above. So client retention is, of course, huge. Um, it costs, what did they say? It costs like 5 times more to gain a new client than it does to keep the clients that you have. So that's a big indicator. And I think it's also an indicator of how happy they are with the services that you're providing. I think revenue per provider is an important one to keep track of. You always have your leaders, but it's also, if you don't pay attention, it's easy to end up with people that are really trailing far behind. And then, that's an indicator that they either need some more training or sometimes they're just not the right people on your bus. And you need to get the right people on the bus. And then once you get the right people on the bus, you have to get them in the right seats on the bus. And so those performance metrics, I think, become really important in understanding that. Um, Revenue, top line revenue is, of course, huge, but then at the same time, that total cash flow and what's your outlay of cash every month and how's that comparing to your revenue? Um, and when we were small 10 years ago, that was a lot easier to measure. And the bigger we get, the more complicated those metrics become. But it's a really important part of the conversation too. And then finally, I think with all the marketing efforts, it's so easy to just throw money at marketing. And you think, okay, if I spend $1,000 on this, it'll at least generate $3,000 worth of new revenue. And so many times it does not. And it's so easy to put these things into motion and then to lose track of what's the success rating of each one.
Absolutely. I know marketing is a huge issue, especially for our newbies, that haven't had a lot of experience. They tend to just throw big money at things or new people, and it can get very pricey with very little yield. So I can discourage people for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've come across that a lot in our business, being able to help people kind of shift from the mindset of, I'm not going just to hire somebody I met on Instagram, or my sister's brother's friend's cousin, It's
Right.
just like, I have branding experience, and they're like, okay, here's all my money, and it doesn't yield anything. So that is unfortunate, but it's good to hear,
Yeah.
little bit by little bit.
SEO metrics are so important.
Huge.
They're huge. And I think so many people don't even understand it enough to be able to track it and follow it. And they just trust their web provider. Oh, yeah, it's working great. And you're fine.
Yeah, no communication, you hear from them 3 months down the line, and all of a sudden they're like, sorry. You're like, it's a lot. It's a lot. Well, this
It
has been
is.
awesome. What are some future goals for Xanadu? I know that you and I had an amazing conversation about your longevity um, movement. So I would love to hear about that and what kind of big milestones you see on the horizon.
Yeah, we're super excited about our branding longevity program. It goes back to that conversation about what's newer in the marketplace, and of course, the conversation of peptides and supplements. And at the baseline of that is the lab work that's done to identify what are the needs. But these peptides are just taking the world by storm, and the ability to help people just live a better life while the time that they have on this planet actually does exist. And, I think more and more people are moving away from pharmaceuticals to be able to do that. And they're looking for other ways that are healthier, more natural, to achieve those same outcomes or maybe even better outcomes. So we're super excited about that conversation. And we put a lot of time and energy into building a brand new platform that we're launching this month.
That is amazing. I can't wait to check that
Yeah.
out for sure. I am all about the peptides. I love them. I've done a lot of research too, and it is definitely the future for sure.
Yep. I do not think we've had a complaint from anybody who started a peptide regimen. If anything, every once in a while, they just can't feel the difference. But think about, you take your vitamin C every day. Do you feel the difference? Sometimes you
So
just
true.
believe
So
that the
true.
difference
I
is
know.
happening.
It's happening on the inside, but yeah, definitely.
Right.
And other people can see the outside. They can't sometimes, looking at themselves every single day, and then they come back
Well, isn't
in and
that
you're
true
like,
even after a treatment? How many
yeah,
times do other people see the difference? And when we look in the
really.
mirror ourselves, we don't.
So true. So true. That's amazing. Let's see. If you could wave a magic wand and solve one big operational or strategic challenge today, what would it be? My
Okay.
favorite question.
My pain point, yeah, my pain point at the moment is with Generation Z. So I'm 56, good Gen Xer, and shoot, the last couple of months, just if I could wave a magic wand, it would be that these new employees who are younger understand you can't just decide I don't feel like coming to work today. You can't leave your clients behind. It's amazing how many times, I'll have an interview set up. They don't call. They just don't show up. That's a pain point. And I've had to fire 4 people in the last 2 months
Oh,
for that type of behavior. And that's just, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
to the point where it's become a pain point, and it's making me think different about even who I even want to look at to hire. So you hit me in a time when I'm feeling that pain, so I'm complaining just a little bit.
I, I can feel that. Yeah. Yeah. Even a little bit below my generation, all of a sudden they just, they don't want to work, and it's unusual. It's unusual, but that is what we're
I
seeing.
don't get it.
You are
Like,
not
you've got a
alone.
full book of people today, and you're just going to let them hang, and then they're never going to come back to it. Just none of it makes sense.
Oh gosh. So let's see. So you said you had a full book. Do you have any tips for owners out there or people that are trying to grow bigger on how to keep your books full and keep the patients coming back?
Yeah. That's a really good question. Yeah, I literally never stop reinventing how we're strategizing to do that. So for retention, yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to communication, right? Cannot have a transactional relationship where they come in, they receive a service, you send them on their way, and then forget about them, right?
Yep.
It's a two-way street. And the bigger the practice gets, the more complicated that process can become just from sheer volume. But it's so important for that client to feel that relationship and to know that they're an important part of the relationship. So I think for retention, that's huge. Um, for acquiring new clients, I have I talked about SEO, but I also have a strategy of going into the community and trying to find people where they're at. So for me personally, I think that I've got a lot of potential clients at the Symphony. So I did the inside front cover of the Symphony
Mm,
booklet.
cool.
And then I even got the symphony conductor to introduce me from the stage, and, little things like that, I think make a big difference. And they have
Absolutely.
some wow factor. So there's 1,500 people in the audience, and they all get introduced to Xanadu Med Spa in that way. And so I try to come up with creative solutions. We all have the basic things that we do, but outside of that, how do we think different?
I love it. I love your outside the box. That's great. Because it's one thing to do everything online, and it's a total nother to have your face in the community where people can see you. So I think that is amazing. Well, I know our listeners have taken a lot away from this already. You've been a huge help. Let's see. Before we wrap up, I want you to tell the audience how they can get a hold of you, how they can follow Xanadu or get in touch with you and your team.
Great. Xanadu, first of all, is spelled with an X. So those of us that are Gen Xers remember Olivia Newton-John and all of that from the 70s, right? So you can follow us at Xanadu Med Spa. And that's true for Facebook. It's true for Instagram. It's true for TikTok, everything. You can get a hold of me by just emailing me Mark, M-A-R-K, at XanaduMedSpa.com. And of course, our website is XanaduMedSpa.com.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Mark, so much. We really appreciate you being on the podcast today and sharing some of your knowledge and insights. At New Era Intel, where we actually partner with a lot of med spas like you and aesthetic clinics. You had mentioned a lot of patient retention and constant revenue. We're able to supply people with AI powered follow up systems and smart content. And I have a world of knowledge from many other people that we have talked to. And I would love to share something like that with you if you found that valuable or not. Love to do a follow-up call with you. And we'll go ahead and get that on the books if that sounds like something that you would want to investigate.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Mark. And thank you, listeners. And we will see you on the next episode of The Aesthetic Edge.